Blake Griffin's former teammate, Andre Drummond, is also a guy who is on the trade market now and is probably going to get bought out. Andre Drummond, the Cavaliers told him to start sitting out because they don't want him to get hurt, which made Draymond Green sound off, and I agree with him on most of what he said. Very, very courageous stand of Draymond to take there. But will Andre Drummond actually get traded? I mean, last year, didn't he get traded? What did he get traded for? A second-round pick? He got traded for nothing. Andre Drummond basically got traded for nothing last season. A year older, on an expiring deal again. What makes the Cavaliers think they're going to get anything more, if not less? Like, there's no team realistically that can trade for Andre Drummond. And right now, they have been in talks with the Toronto Raptors. And I was playing around with the trade machine on ESPN.com, and this is the only trade that I could come up with in regards to the Toronto Raptors. This would only work salary cap-wise. This is the only trade that could work salary cap-wise. Aaron Baines, Norman Powell, Patrick McCaw, and Stanley Johnson for Andre Drummond and Damian Dotson. Now, is this a good trade? If you were the Raptors, would you make this trade? If you were the Cavs, would you take this trade? It really depends. You're definitely getting an upgrade from Aaron Baines when you get Andre Drummond. If Aaron Baines was shooting the 3-point ball at a pretty high percentage this season, my mindset would be a little bit different, but he's not shooting well. So he's not really providing spacing anyway. Norman Powell, he's a good scorer. I don't think that's the guy that I really wouldn't want to let go. Norman Powell, because he's a really legit and good scorer. And he plays a huge part for that Raptors team. But if you're fine with that, if you're fine with giving up a guy like Norman to get Andre Drummond, then I guess you pull the trade. You make the trade. And you're also getting a guy in Damian Dotson, who Damian Dotson is not a scrub. He can play. I'm a Knicks fan. I saw Damian Dotson play well a lot of the times. But all in all, I don't think the Raptors make this trade. And if they do, it kind of just shows how desperate they are right now. Andre Drummond is a big man who does one thing and one thing only. He can make layups and make dunks. He has no other skill set in his game. He can't really shoot. He has no real post game. And he's a great rebounder. But oddly enough, he's a great rebounder. He's really athletic. But he's not a great defender. He's not a great rim protector, which is really weird. Because usually big guys that are really athletic and can rebound well and can jump really high usually know how to block shots too. But for Andre Drummond, that's not the case. I mean, he would help with Toronto's defense, I guess slightly, just a little bit with the rim protection, rebounding, of course, and which Baines does not provide at a high enough level. But they would lose a really good scorer in Norman Powell. So it just depends on what you want to do. It really, plus Andre Drummond is a rental. Is Toronto really going to re-sign him back? It depends. Like, what is Andre Drummond's market going to be after this season? There's too many question marks. Norman Powell was signed this year and next year. So he's locked up for the next 2 seasons at least. What about Andre Drummond? I wouldn't do this trade if I were the Raptors. I think that Andre Drummond gets bought out. And also, if the Raptors are going to trade for a center, just trade for JaVale McGee. He can do what Andre Drummond does. Damn near. And you won't have to give up Norman Powell. You only have to probably give up a pick. I think Andre Drummond gets bought out. I don't think he gets traded because I don't think any team is going to trade for Andre Drummond. Now, with the Celtics are also the only team that can make a trade because of their gigantic trade exception. If you don't know, the Celtics have a $28.5 million trade exception, which means they can trade for any player that has that salary or lower and not have to give up any player, probably only have to give up a pick for that said player. Celtics can make it work. They do need some depth and they do need help, so I can definitely see that happening. But outside of the Celtics and Raptors, There's nobody else. The Lakers can't trade for him. They don't have the players to match the salaries. The Nets can't trade for him. They don't have the players to match the salaries. And I'll back up on that statement because they do, but the players that match Drummond's salaries are Davis and LeBron and Harden, KD, and Kyrie. You're not trading those guys for Andre Drummond. A report also came out that Drummond is just fine with joining the Knicks. I don't think the Knicks trade for him, though. The Nets and Mavs are interested in acquiring him only via buyout. Andre Drummond, it's just Andre Drummond. What is he really worth? I think in this modern NBA, not that much. Because of that, I think he gets bought out. What team he joins, I think he will either join the Lakers or the Nets if he gets bought out. Because I think at this point he recognizes that it's probably just best for him to win a championship. Especially if he already got bought out and made about $29 million with the Cavs. You might as well just go play for free somewhere, play on a minimum, and win a championship. I think he'll either join the Lakers or the Nets if he gets bought out. But if it's a trade, watch out for the Celtics and the Raptors.